knowing each other's personality really well. So he is overly optimistic, which is actually a really beautiful thing, but it can get us in trouble sometimes with timing of things. And I'm more realistic. So that's another balance thing that we have that we know about, and I think that's just
is that a compliment?
Yes.
Can't
I think
tell.
it's a compliment.
It's a compliment.
I thought it was a compliment.
Beautiful thing.
I think optimism is.
I'm always very
absolutely.
positive.
Yeah, he's yeah.
And so sometimes she needs some positivity as well.
Yeah.
It's the
We all
balance.
can.
Right.
She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author, obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Good morning, good life. Welcome back to Detail Therapy. In this episode, we're getting into the details about being in business as a couple. This is something that is very close to my heart because my husband and I are entrepreneurs together, and we have a very special conversation that we're going to share with you about another couple who is doing something similarly to us. If you're new here, hello, my name is Amy Landino. I will be your host. I am your productive lifestyle and success coach and founder of Gatlu House, a resource dedicated to helping you go after the life you want. You can see all of our work, including the show notes for this podcast, so you can follow up with our guests and all the fun stuff that we talk about by visiting detailtherapy.online in your browser. So this is so weird, you guys. Right now, I am recording this on my iPhone. I'm traveling at the moment. I'm visiting my family in Columbus, and I'm very, very excited because this is a conversation that my husband, Vincenzo, and I recorded together with another couple, the founders of Planthropy, who I'm going to tell you about in a little bit. We actually recorded this conversation for our podcast about love and business called Common Goal, and we were planning to publish this on Common Goal, but we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we let Detail Therapy get their ears on it first? And so that's exactly what's happening today. We've been sitting on this one for a while and we're getting a little impatient. So we definitely wanted to share it with you. And we had such a great time talking to the founders of Planthropy, Jessie Lau and Michael Creeth. It is just such a great conversation. And I can't wait to tell you more about what they do, and they're going to share so much with you about what their journey has been like. I just think there's so much to unpack here, and I'm so excited that you get to listen to this because, yes, we've been wanting to share this for a while. So that is what's happening. I know this sounds a little bit different from your normal Detail Therapy episode, and it's been a while since we've done an interview like this, but I think you're going to love it. These two are really special, and what they're doing is amazing, and you're just going to have as much fun as we did when we sat down for this conversation. So special shout out to my husband, Vincenzo Landino, who co-hosted with me for this episode, for this interview. And I am going to throw it over to that interview now, starting with a little info on our guests
Jessie Lau
today.
and Michael Creeth make up the founders of Planthropy. They are the plant people. They're true lovers of nature and the outdoors, exploring and bringing green to spaces. They design and create with not only living plants, but also a variety of preserved plants, moss, and other earthy elements that are fully custom made. With Jessie's background in graphic design and passion for nature, and Michael's extensive background in landscape design, they made the perfect recipe for creative interior design. Let's welcome Jessie and Michael from Planthropy onto Common Goal. Jessie and Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
So, how did you start working together? Tell us the story.
It's a good story.
Who's starting?
You are better at telling it, I feel like.
So I had a business, landscape design business already, and Jessie was doing Planthropy at the time, and we were paired on a project in Franklinton for Independence Fest. So we were supposed to design a 3,000 square foot venue with plants. And so we were partners on it. They gave us this big budget. And then it dwindled down to almost nothing. So then we had to be creative. And I think we nailed it. But that's basically where we met. And then we sort of combined our businesses after knowing each other for about 6 months. And then we realized having 2 plant businesses wasn't as great and powerful as having one. And she had a really big social media presence, and I had almost none. So what I was doing, nobody was really seeing at the time. And then we sort of, once we combined it, that's where we are sort of today, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, also at that time, I didn't know there was another plant person in town. So I was like, oh, another plant person. That's pretty great.
That was before everybody was into plants too.
Yes.
Unpack
right
plant
now.
person.
Yeah,
what is a
let's-
plant person? Because my wife is not a plant person.
To me, it's someone who works with plants, appreciates them. It doesn't have to mean you're a crazy plant lady or person. It just means that you have an appreciation for maybe nature. Maybe that's how I should describe it.
And made a business out of it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like
Certainly.
that's a big component of this.
Yeah, so I mean, like, landscape design makes sense to me, right? How did you go from landscape design to, like, I don't know, helping people like connect with nature through plants? Like, how does that? I guess landscape design I guess it does make sense. But
for me, I was working outside, which I really enjoyed because it kept me fit and in shape and tan. But then the winters here, you're plowing snow.
Yes.
And so I didn't really enjoy that part, and I wanted something more consistent, a little bit more creative. And so I saw vertical gardens, like in Europe on the internet, like probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I was like, those look really fun and great, and how do I build those? So I researched it a little bit and made a pretty big one my first time. It was 12 by 18 foot. And so I decided like I wanted to do this a little bit more creativeness. And then I saw moss sort of happening in Europe as well. And nobody was really doing it here at the time. And so I just started getting into that a little bit more, and then saw that there was thousands of landscape companies in Columbus, but only 4 really interior scape companies. So there was like a little niche market that sort of just slid into. So then once I shared these thoughts and ideas with Jessie, and then we put them on social media,
Yes.
then everybody enjoyed them, and it's taken off since then, and it's going pretty great right now.
Yeah. Well, I remember like what he was so passionate about it, and he was telling me about these ideas, and to me they seemed so huge and so risky, especially for the Midwest. It felt scary to approach that concept, but we dove in. He pushed me out of my comfort zone, and now we have installations all over the U.S. and in over 22 states. Is that correct?
Large installations
Yes.
in 22 states.
Yeah.
We had to count for something last week. So
Yeah, we're not keeping
minds.
track of that, but it was actually a question on
Hey,
something
you got
we
to
had
keep
to
track,
fill
because
out.
if you don't know where you are, like, if you don't keep score somehow, like, how are you
right,
supposed
right.
to? Yeah.
Well, we were saying we need a map so we can target
Totally, you
those.
need a map,
Yeah.
and
Try-
you need
try
to
to
make
get all
it
50.
with the moss and
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I'm curious to hear. So you said Planthropy existed when you guys met. So what did it look like then? And can you kind of give like what is Planthropy today, so people
Yeah.
can get a better idea in their mind?
Yeah, when I started Planthropy, it was really just small plant arrangements, really small for your desk, for your house, to liven up the space. And from there, it grew a little bit into workshops because people naturally had questions in terms of, how do I keep these plants alive? What am I supposed to do with them now? How do I not murder them right away?
That's literally my only question about all of this.
We can give you
Wanna
tips.
take a
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you could take a class if you want. You could take a workshop. And so I was really just doing smaller arrangements and workshops at the time. And then when we partnered on that project, it was such an out of the box project. I mean, we hung trees upside down from the ceiling so the roots were exposed, and we painted the roots so they were vibrant, and it was a piece of art in a very different way. And it was something that resonated with me so well and so perfectly. And then when he started talking about living walls and vertical gardens, it just made sense, even though I didn't know how we were going to approach it or attack it. But when we merged our businesses and started down that road, now moss walls are about 85% of our business. Living walls are the rest. Since COVID hit, we've completely paused all the workshops. But it has been a big shift in terms of the service offerings.
So it is fascinating to me because I just have questions about the plants. So I've always heard the phrase living wall. I think that's become very popular in general corporate, trying to keep life alive in the office and morale up. So what's the difference between a living wall and what you're talking about with the moss?
So the moss itself that we use, it's real, but it has been through a special preservation process. The preservation it goes through keeps the moss soft and lush and colorful, but zero maintenance. You don't have to worry about watering it. You don't have to worry about specific sun requirements. You can't technically kill it.
Perfect.
We like to say it's more like artwork. So you hang it and you don't do anything with it except appreciate it and feel how it changes the space.
Oh my gosh, I just love that.
When we tell that to clients, they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what we need for the space, because our living walls are living plants that need a special system, that need water and maintenance and light and dusting and pruning and
right. And it's like, who does that? Like, who in the office gets that job?
Well, we would do that.
We do the maintenance. You guys,
as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why
like how
maintenance
often?
services.
it's an investment. So it costs more than the moss walls, and everybody wants a living wall until we start talking price
Logistics.
and maybe adding irrigation and
And
plumbing in the wall,
maintenance
and then a
and-
maintenance contract.
Their
And,
eyes glaze over during
and then
the
they start to
meeting.
run away, and then we grab them and we say, well, have you seen our moss walls? And then we usually do that.
So this just opens a whole other question about the business, because it's fascinating. How do you maintain the ones across all states?
We only do moss walls.
Got it.
In other
Good
states.
question.
And we have proposed a few, or people have asked us. We have a few bids out in other states, but we would train a local interior scape company there.
Got it. All right. So how many? I guess I have like multiple questions right now.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they're here for.
Come to the right place.
All right. Before I get too far away from this, you said it seems like you got a lot of inspiration from Europe. What? You've been to Europe? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where in Europe are you seeing a lot of this, and how far ahead do you think they are than here? That's part one of the question.
I think that the godfather of living walls is Patrick Blanc. He's a French botanist. So he was doing a large scale all over, like skyscrapers, so like 5 stories tall.
Wow.
And then everybody wants those, but we live in Columbus, Ohio, and we have winters. And if you do your research, like there's living walls outside in Paris, but we don't have the same weather. But everybody's like, but I've seen the picture where it snows, and it really only snows there like once in a blue moon.
It's like, they get a dusting.
Yes. Or they'll show us something in Miami, and I'll be like, well, we can't do that here. From being there, and then pictures on the internet, and then I think they're a little bit ahead of us, and they're starting to do a lot of cork walls over there, cork bark, and so we actually just started doing that as well. And as far as I can tell, nobody else is really doing those right now here, so we're trying to bring that here as well.
You say here, you mean the States, or you mean Columbus, Ohio?
Anywhere that somebody wants to pay us to do it.
Got it.
Everywhere.
Gotta love a paying customer.
But the irony of all of it is that our largest installations are all outside of Columbus.
Sure. That makes sense. Do you think, so here, this is a follow-up to that, right? Do you think being in the Midwest, reverse that, what advantages do you find from being here as opposed to New York City, Miami, LA?
I think that we have Midwest pricing
For
is
sure.
what we say. So we know a lot of we're pretty well connected in the interior-scape community. And we're like the youngest people in it. They're like, all these people have taken us under their wing.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And so we know what people in San Diego
Sure.
are charging. We know what people in New York are charging. And we feel comfortable with our prices, and they have increased over the years.
Right.
And we're not trying to lowball for sure. It's just what we feel comfortable getting around here. It just so happens that we're doing jobs in California, but we're not going to overcharge them. We're still doing what we would do here. So I think that also our proximity to a lot of places. So, we have a lot on the East Coast, but 6 hours, 9 hours. So we usually will make it in bigger pieces, drive it there, and then fly back.
Right.
So that makes it real nice
Yeah,
and
yeah.
convenient too.
I think I read a stat that was like 70% of the U.S. population is within
500 miles, I think.
of
Yeah.
Columbus.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is interesting because we do. I mean,
Very.
that's the same thing with us.
Yeah.
Like we travel for everything. All of our production work is travel. Mm-hmm. Was travel. It's different now, but it was travel. We
Yeah.
were in L.A. We were in New York. We were in Europe. We were, Miami. It was never here. But it was always pretty quick to get
Yeah.
to. Like LA wasn't a whole day to get there. It's 3.5 hours the flight, which is nothing. New York,
Especially if you're not-
New York is 45 minutes.
Exactly. But for what that used to be for you was a lot longer, so now it feels shorter. To me, it still seems long. But in Connecticut, if you were to fly
But
to
if you're
LA
in-
or
if you're
out of
in New York
JFK,
to go to LA,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
Anyway, it was just fascinating to.
I can totally relate to the whole Midwest pricing piece, though. When I first started my business 10 years ago, I couldn't get anyone in Ohio to even consider social media as an important thing, right? If you think about where it was 11 years ago, that it's a marketing budget item. And so everybody was on the West Coast or New York that I worked with. So I can completely identify with that. And then it's going to hit you, and very probably sooner than later, because I think Columbus is also getting much more, hip on a more exponential basis every year. But yeah, I remember the day I came back from a trip and I had all these plans on how I was going to market and yada, yada, yada. And it was like Columbus got the memo and I just had lead upon lead here.
Awesome.
It is really fascinating. It's like we're watching to see what happens. We're playing the safe game before you dive in. Okay, so I kind of want to change the story just a little bit. Sure. I'm curious to hear, we know how you started working together, but you're also life partners or together. How did that come about? Was that before the businesses came together? Was it after?
It was when you guys were doing the walls, right?
The
Franklinton?
project, yeah.
Yeah.
So you also met at that point.
We met
Yes.
for the first
So
time at that
that's
point.
crazy.
And he
Yeah.
likes to say after that, we haven't not seen each other
I say the same
a
thing about
day
her.
Right.
since.
That's so crazy, though, you guys.
Like,
Because to
every
me,
single
I think
day.
that's such an anomaly to be like, I love what you're doing. Let's start a business together, and
Yeah.
maybe the relationship will also flourish. But
How quickly did you start taking the relationship to the next level after you met? Like, was it right away or was it?
It was, I feel like it was slower. It
Right.
I was
Got it.
wondering what you were going to say.
I thought it was a slow progression because we met on that project and then I was watching your projects and I just feel like it was like this transition of watching that and like learning who you were through your projects in a way. That's, I don't know.
2 to 3 weeks, maybe.
Got it.
Say.
But see, hold on. So I feel the same way, right? Because we met. She was on stage speaking. I was working there, but I felt like I was getting to know her through like what she was doing versus like a traditional date. Like, okay, let's go out to
or
dinner.
God
like,
forbid a networking event, or
right? Something like
Yeah,
that. It was.
yeah.
I'm like, I felt like I learned because we got married. We had only known, and we did long distance. Like it was pretty quick. It was like a year and a half, which is pretty quick for
It is
nowadays.
pretty quick considering we both got out of long-term relationships before, and I thought that I had to date a guy for 5 years.
But it was like
before they could
because I
decide.
knew so much, I was able to learn so much through that.
Yeah.
That it kind of just sped up.
I
that
agree.
process.
And one of our first, I don't even know if we could consider it like a first date, but I was admiring him because we were we were literally in a canoe, and he was like getting out and getting muddy along the bank to get and salvage these stumps
that was
that
for the
had
project.
the cool roots on it, and it was
I'm
like
getting a little
We
excited
were
now
already
too,
dating
thinking about that.
just like covered in mud, getting this thing out of the river and throwing it in the canoe, and I'm like, he's serious.
Where
That's
was
what
he is
happens
like
when they
passionate
don't give
about
you a
what he
budget.
does.
You have to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Where was
And
that?
And my friend's property.
Like here in Ohio?
Yeah.
What river was
yeah,
that
yeah.
though? What?
The Big Walnut, something.
The massive Walnut River.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's not like the Ohio River or anything.
No.
Oh, that's so cool.
So-
I mean, go ahead.
So with being in a relationship and owning a business, I think that's always what I like to unpack, because what's dinner like? How what's your day-to-day like? Do you we get the question all the time, how do you balance work and life? I guess my first question would be, within the business, is there something you guys have done to kind of complement each other well? Like, Michael, you gave the example. Jessie had really strong social media coming into this, so marketing seems to be a strength of hers. Is there something in terms of roles that you've done within the business to say, like, you know what, we complement each other, you're really good at that, I'm really good at this, and that's how we do good work together without killing each other in our personal
I think
relationship?
that's why we are where we are, because literally every single thing that I lack, she is great at, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so we say that all the time.
Yeah,
And
it's-
so we know our roles. I don't try to. Well, she won't allow me access to the Instagram because I say things I shouldn't sometimes. So
It's a good policy.
she's really good at that. So I'll let her do that, and then I sort of build the frames, do all the woodworking. We both come up with the design ideas, but she does a lot more on the computer as far as design and dealing with clients, because again, sometimes I don't hit send until she proofreads,
And
usually.
sometimes he's not allowed to hit send.
It usually gets erased.
But I think
no, it's a good balance.
I think
for
that
sure.
we learned early on that whole strengths and weaknesses and playing to each other's vulnerable side of that. And then as soon as we figured out like what I wasn't good at, he could excel in, so I'm not even going to try. It was like I feel like because of that, it keeps things like really smooth, and we never really have any issues because of that.
I think it also helps on when we're starting to design projects and ideas, and sometimes I can be a little more wild and wanting to branch out and try something, like she initially said, crazy, I suppose. And then sometimes she will bring me back down to earth, but she has the design background as well. So she has a real good design eye. So it's just a real great.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's a real great
How often do
balance.
you tell her that?
I've told her that before. Plenty. She knows that.
Hey, I'm just asking.
It's like, I noted the date down in my calendar. I definitely said that at least
At
once.
least 3 weeks.
Just a moment so I can tell you about our sponsor, and that's our friends over at Ana Luisa. One thing you may not know about me is that I just live for a bold fashion moment. Unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of time to research putting looks together. This is why I love shopping with Ana Luisa. They are your one-stop shop for jewelry that delivers on that wow factor, unbeatable quality, and fair prices that don't derail the budget. Not only do they have new collections released every Friday, but their timeless sustainable pieces never go out of style. I recently went with the Michelle set for a little bit of a statement piece because of the gorgeous layers and texture it has going on. Let me tell you, the quality is incredible. If you want something that's like a little bit simpler but still chic, the Anna Gold necklace is where it's at. But no matter which piece you pick, you're going to be stepping out in style. Pop over to your browser and go to shop.analuisa.com/detail therapy so that you can take advantage of our special discount of 10% off your jewelry purchase. That's shop.analuisa.com/detail therapy, where you'll find fabulous options that start from just $39. You can easily find the link to get 10% off when you head to our show notes of this episode of Detail Therapy, but I'll go ahead and spell it for you one more time. That's shop planthropy.com/detail therapy for fabulous jewelry options that wow from day to night, no matter where you're headed in going after the life you want.
Yeah, I mean, so how, kind of piggybacking off of that, how do you actually separate work? I mean, from the sounds of it, because I don't know you guys outside of here, so like, it sounds like you're really into work, the work you're doing. It's passion. It's part of your life, right? I mean, you have to, especially that, because the passion comes through in your work. I mean, the work is gorgeous. It's not going to be that if you don't love it. How do you separate that though? And how, like, what do you do to enjoy non-work time?
I would say, had a difficult time doing any type of separation until recently, because up until we had our new studio space, we had a studio at the house. So it was attached to the house, so it could be midnight and we were still in the studio, still working, and whatever. It didn't stop. It didn't stop, and it didn't stop. And so now that we have a separate studio space, that certainly helps. But our weekends are typically full of outdoor time, and that's like our time. We hike, we kayak, we camp, and
at the same time we're in nature, so we're never really separated because we're out there getting inspired. And I mean, we take thousands of pictures. Well, I do, at least. She takes some, but I take all the time in the forest. And so it's really hard to separate. But like she said, now that we have had a separate space for about a year, it's been a little bit easier. But I know that for 2 years, it was basically 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 7 days a week for 2 years.
We didn't see friends. We just hit it hard. I mean, we worked so much, and I didn't realize it until we got the other space, and I was like, oh man, I'm tired. I'm tired.
It's funny because, I think we can all relate to those moments where it's like you just have to hustle really hard at your business, and at the end of the day, like, you wouldn't necessarily change that because you know what that's done for you at this point. But you do start to reflect on, okay, we did that. I think we're in a good place. You don't want to get comfortable, but you do want to actually live your life.
Right.
It's not all about plant walls all the time.
Right.
Even if it's like you appreciate the art of it, the greater appreciation is the nature piece of it, not the actual doing the work. So yeah, I mean, what do you feel like is important to you guys when you are spending just that time together? What's the most important thing to you?
I mean, honestly, just non-work time with him. It's just so relaxing. Like there's nothing like, and we always have our dog with us, and it's just.
What kind of dog? We're dog people.
He's
American Staffordshire Terrier. A pit bull.
AKA a pit bull.
He's got the big head, so
he's got a big old
definitely
noggin
a Staffordshire
and a wiggly
Terrier.
butt.
I love that.
Yes.
That's what it's what you have to say versus got it.
Yeah. Because, well, it's just like, people are always like, oh, pit bull.
Yeah.
Do you ever bite you and latch on? And what? No. He's awesome. He's like the sweetest
we cuddle
dude.
and sleep. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah, yeah.
And he loves the nature trips, you guys, like the
For sure,
camping
he's
and
a hiker.
Loves it, yeah.
He's not the biggest swimmer, but he does love water. He's sunk a
Cannot
few
swim.
times.
He has almost drowned twice. He needs a life jacket. It's not good.
He jumped off of a boat twice, but other than that,
help
he loves the water.
One was by accident. He fell off. But,
Oh.
Michael had to jump in after him and get him out. It was.
I'm sure it was a lot scarier.
It's hard sitting.
at that point.
Yeah,
it was.
right,
I saw his eyes, and they were so big, and he just went underwater and just did not come up. Oh my God. He's just sinking.
You couldn't even
He's
doggy
just a-
paddle.
He was
He's
too far
all
back.
muscle. He's
So
just.
he was already like this, so that's why
Couldn't get
he
himself.
was
Poor
sinking.
thing.
Right.
Well, way to save the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean.
Okay, so on the few times, sounds like not very often, but the few times that you guys have a disagreement, whether it's, well, most likely in business, right? How do you keep it from getting too personal? How do you guys deal with it?
I would say in almost 5 years of knowing her, I could count on one hand how many arguments we've gotten
That's
in.
very impressive.
And that's
Personal or business arguments?
I would say, I don't even know that
Personal.
there's been
She's like, we argue all the time.
arguments.
Business?
Sometimes we have a different perspective on things in business sometimes, which, I mean, you got to expect that for sure. But we're really good about working around it and listening to each other's viewpoints. And so it's surprisingly easy living, working, and seeing her literally every minute of every single day. And I can remember like making a post when COVID first started and telling people about how you're going to be seeing your significant other a lot more, and these are the keys, and everybody was like, oh wow, that's so nice. And I was like, well, it's really worked for us. And
What are the keys?
Yeah.
well, I can't remember now spot.
What are the keys? I want the
will say
keys.
Just-
one
just the
thing that
listening
we
to each
always-
other and
that
appreciating
we always
each other.
talk about is
and not
the-
talking over each other. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good luck with that one. I fail at that.
happens on occasion.
All the time.
I mean, but we have always talked about like bringing it back to remembering that we're on the same team and we're working towards the same goal. And then as soon as you like remember those things, we are working towards the same goal. It's like, oh yeah, like we're not trying to derail anything. We're not trying to completely sabotage
Sure.
anything. We're on the same track. And I think that's always been something that we've been grounded in.
Well, I think it's mindset too. I mean, my question was, do you argue? And your response was not yes or no. It was, we have disagreements on things. And I think having the right mindset in that, especially when you're going to see that person when you go home and when you go to sleep and when you wake up, it's we found it, like, you just have to change your mindset. Even the
Yeah.
words we use with each other and like the words we use in general. I mean, I'm not by any stretch good at this. They know, like, I'm trying to get better even at the words I say, because it puts you into this mindset and you're like, this is a disagreement, you're like, or this is an argument. And she's like, it's for 5 years. She said, it's not an argument, or we're not, don't stop saying like, you're not mad at me. I know you're not, like, let's change the way we say, and that helps so much, at least for us. I mean, again, I don't know what others, but that's helped tremendously with us, because just walking into a situation and already thinking like, this is an argument, it derails everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would add to that, it's like just knowing each other's personality really well. So he is overly optimistic, which is actually a really beautiful thing, but it can get us in trouble sometimes with timing of things. And I'm more realistic. So that's another balance thing that we have that we know about. And I think that's just...
Is that a compliment? I
Yes.
can't
I think
tell.
it's a compliment.
It's a compliment.
I thought it was a compliment.
Beautiful thing.
I think optimism is.
I'm always very
absolutely.
positive.
Yeah, he's
And so sometimes she needs some positivity as well.
Yeah.
It's the
We all
balance.
can.
Right.
It's the balance.
And I think to everyone's point here, it's knowing the personalities and reminding yourself that, like, you've chosen someone to do this with, whether they're just a business partner, if they're a life partner, if they're both, and you're not the same people, and you're just living that experience at the same time. So your approach to, taking something positively or negatively is literally your experience, and the other person's reaction to react in their own way isn't observing that way that someone's experiencing something.
Yeah.
That's been the eye-opener for me, is because of the way that we've both been programmed to think and to talk is just the way that we've been expressing our experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that, if I think he sounds annoyed, he may not always actually be annoyed. It may just literally be how he talks. That happens
Probably
a lot.
happens a lot more often.
That's interesting. I
sound
like
annoyed a
that.
lot.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that does happen quite a bit, huh?
So what's the future of Planthropy? What's the vision, Optimist?
Changes daily. Our
like
goals
you.
that we had a couple of years ago have, I think, been met. The growth has come at a surprisingly fast rate. It used to be we're posting and it's as seen in Columbus. I love Columbus, C-Bus, all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. And now it's not.
It's just posting it.
And our hashtags have broadened because we're trying to a broader reach. We're trying to get out there more beyond Columbus. So I think that Columbus goal, even though, like she said, a lot of things that we do aren't actually here. I mean, we still want to do things here, but the people are paying us a lot more in
Sure.
bigger projects everywhere else. The future, I think like I said, it's changing daily. We want more product lines. We want our website. Our online game is pretty good. We sell out in like a day, but it's hard to keep it stocked.
Sure.
And then people get angry because your things aren't stocked.
They're like, it's all handmade.
Sorry, there's only,
all custom made.
So
10
many of
fingers.
those, right?
Right.
So bigger goals. I think we just want to be in more places, doing more things, and have more offerings. And we're like she said, we're 85% moss right now. That was never our goal. That's just what the people are
Sure.
wanting right now. And we don't ever want to be just moss and have all our eggs in one basket, really.
Yeah.
So that's where the cork walls are coming in. We're actually doing some things with faux plants now too, which if you would have asked me a couple years ago, would you be doing faux plants?
Nope.
Yeah.
Hard no. But
Yep.
now, with the maintenance thing that we're talking about,
Yeah.
living walls, people don't want to pay for the maintenance. And you put a moss wall up and a couple plants that are real, but you have, like Industrious has in a lot of their overhead. So those are really popular right now. So we're doing a lot of faux overhead plantings. So more offerings.
Yeah.
What about
And-
you?
Well, I was just going to say it's only going to keep expanding right now as people are coming back into the offices, because people are going to be a lot more thoughtful about their space and the design and things that they're surrounded by. So I think biophilic design is just going to keep increasing in popularity. I don't want to call it a trend, because it's more than that. It's actually a feeling in our connection with nature. It's actually a scientific thing. So I think that we're just going to keep evolving, and as long as we're still allowed and able to be artistic with the work, I think we're always going to be happy.
And biophilic design, like she was saying, is like now people are filling out our forms and they're using the term biophilic design. So
Yeah.
now architects and designers usually were the people that know it, but we're hearing it used a lot more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's something that people are wanting and relating to now. So good news for us.
Yeah. I guess Michael, I do have another question now. How much of that is education? Like, do you guys educate as well, or is it, hey, this is all we do?
No,
Are you doing a lot of-
we try to educate.
Yeah.
Like if someone reaches out, the first packet of information they get is the benefits of biophilic design. And that's like, it's a whole list of reducing stress and increasing creativity and lowering blood pressure and purifying the air if it is living plants. And like, it's this whole interesting list of things. And I like to tell people this just as a side fact. NASA came out with a study not long ago that we spend 90% of our time indoors. 90, which is like, to me, jaw-dropping. It's unbelievable when you think about it, but when you think about your day, how much you're in a building, a built space, or your vehicle, it's so true. So it's more important now than ever to bring the outdoor elements in for that connection. So the education is there, and we try to. I'm not gonna shove something down someone's throat if they're not interested in it.
Sure.
So, but yeah, they get that right away with our moss information.
Love that.
Back to the personal. Have you ever thought about leaving Columbus, like moving out of Columbus?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Colorado vibe.
It's like every
lived
time
there
we travel
Yeah.
for
before.
an install, it's like,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
this is a pretty
Right.
like every time we travel, we're like, why? Are we
We
in Ohio?
definitely love it here. Yes, that thought has crossed our minds.
What's your favorite? What's like your number one, top two, top three places if you had to pick?
Seattle seems like real fun to me.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to Colorado, but I think that would probably be something that suits me really well.
Yep. And as far as I can tell, there's only like a couple companies in Colorado, in Denver specifically, doing what we're doing. So that is a market that is somewhat untapped there. But again, you know, our goals are bigger, and I think we want to do a lot more online things as well. And I think a warehouse is sort of in our future.
Yeah.
So, you know, those things can happen anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, the Midwest is a good spot for it too.
Yeah.
Centrally located.
Yep.
Lot to be said. A lot of positive things to be said. I was just curious.
There's a lot of, there's a
Agreed.
lot of great things here. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we are here.
Yeah.
That's why we haven't left. But yes, every now and then it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can relate so hard.
we think about it all the time.
we're just, I always say Columbus, we're an ocean and a mountain range away from being really cool.
So true.
Exactly.
It really, that's what it is.
I just want to be
right
in the
there.
water. I just want to be in the water, like real water.
Yeah.
You know, that's my
Yeah.
big thing.
I think we're so misunderstood because there's like not something to latch onto. It's always been like, what's the thing to go see here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have mountains.
An
We
outdoor
don't have this,
mall.
like, you know, the lakes are whatever. You know, it's like, yeah, we have them all.
Yeah.
We have great food. The food is great. We eat here.
We
The
do
food's
eat.
great.
Okay.
Anyway, sidebar.
There's no seafood. That's a problem.
Well, there's
like
a very
seafood.
good reason for that.
Right. A little landlocked.
Hence the
See
water.
first point.
Wow. I you know, it's the parallels between, like, we don't know each other, right? So the parallels between, and our businesses are vastly different.
Yeah.
And there's so many, even the words you're using, right? We're just like, oh my God, we say that all the time. So it's just funny to hear that people go through the same or similar thought process and conversations.
Well, and I always say this too. It's like we all think we have extraordinary problems. At the end of the day, all of our problems sound different because we add details to them. But you know, when you get to the root of it, we're all really going through very similar things, or we know someone who's gone through something similarly, and that's just where we are right now.
Yeah.
Love that.
I know we need to ask you a final question.
Yes.
That Amy likes to ask. But I want to know. Well, not I want to know. Where can our audience community follow up with you guys? You know, I'm sure there's a ton of people. I'm already thinking like I need to have this in my house.
Oh, I've already started working on an order with them. So, because when I found out I didn't have to water the wall, I was very excited.
I'd pay for the maintenance, believe me. But anyway, how does the audience connect with you, or where do they find you? What's the process there?
All right.
Planthropy.co, so C-O.
Yep.
Not to be confused with .com, because we'll say that and people will still try to put that M
.com.
on the end. And then, of course,
What comes up if I type in planthropy.com?
A really
outdated site.
website
Got
with sunflowers on it.
Yeah, so it's not that one, guys.
Please
Dot
don't.
co.
Please don't think that's
Planthropy.co.
us. Yeah.
C-O. And then
lem-
Instagram, Planthropy.
I'm gonna just spell it for everyone.
Please.
It's PLANTHROPY.
It's also the most mispronounced word and misspelled
Misspelled
word
word
of all time.
What is
We've
the,
never said this before.
what is the craziest pronunciation you've got?
Plants for free was one.
Oh, no.
Plants for free. Plant trophy we get all the
Plant
time.
Plant
I can see plant trophy. Yeah.
So
Trophy.
our plant supplier, it's funny. Been getting plants for them for 5 years, and they will
Never
write
once-
the
never once
name,
spelled
and
right.
they plantology comes on it sometimes.
Hilanthrop was the
Hilanthrop.
last one.
We're like, that's not even close.
Started with an H. I don't know.
But we
Hil-
love them.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's-
sure.
It's all
just
all
a
over
fun-
the
It's
all over the
it's
place.
just a joke now.
Well, we have that
The
in
owner
common
knows
also.
about it.
You have the most mispronounced word of all time. He has the most mispronounced name of all time.
Yeah.
Because it's not Vincenzo, it's not Vincent.
I'm okay. I'm not okay with the name Vincent. That's just not my name.
I personally hate
I don't
it.
like it. But I've gotten like Francesco.
Oh.
My name is Vincenzo, Vincenzo. I've gotten Francesco. I've gotten Marcello. I've gotten Lorenzo. And I'm like, are you just anything with like a ZO or an O at the end? Because if that's the thought process, fine. But yeah,
Everybody's like, hey, and tell Vince I said hi. And I'm like, who's Vince?
I mean, again, I understand those, but like where like the name is completely not even the same. I'm just like.
Anyway, that's a fun.
Okay, so
fun
planthropy.co or
That's right.
Planthropy. Well, we'll link all this stuff.
Yeah,
in the notes
Instagram
anyway, but
Planthropy.
Instagram Planthropy.
Yeah.
We'll tag them on our reels and whatnot too. So
All
that's
right.
pretty cool. But yeah,
And now
go
we
check
need,
them out.
We need to ask our final question.
All right.
How will you know, and you can answer individually, how will you know once you've reached your common goal?
I will go first. Like we were saying, our goals have changed. I think we've met our initial goal of having a successful business together. I think once we are toes are in the sand and just doing things from our computer on a beach somewhere really nice, that sounds like an end goal perhaps, or in the mountains rescuing dogs because that's what we can do. Those are mine. That's when I know that Planthropy
hit
has
it.
done good when
Yeah.
I'm doing something else like
Got it.
that is not 100% related.
Yeah. Mine is a little similar in that it's the common goal is you've done it when someone else is handling 90% of the heavy lifting and you're not doing that anymore.
Yep.
And you are, like Michael said, toes in the sand, able to actually breathe a little bit more again, get a little bit of life back again. I think that would be a big common goal.
Yeah.
Big goal.
Yeah, on the biz, not in the biz. And,
Yes, and it's that is like the hardest thing, I think. I people will say things about work-life balance, and sometimes I'm like, it's all give and take. It's all give and take. I don't know if there's a perfect balance all the time. It's just always going to be moving. So, yeah, when that workload is off, I think that's going to be good.
That's the goal. Dogs. I want a ranch with
And
dogs,
dogs,
man.
yeah.
Just,
We
Just
want to.
dogs.
I want a ranch with every possible dog, rescue every
We
single
want
dog
a big
I can.
old farm with a ton of rescue animals.
Yeah.
And
That's my kind of life.
We
that's
follow a guy who rescues senior pets.
Wolfgang.
And he also has a
don't know if you guys
senior
are
pig, and he has
senior chicken.
what
and
is
a rabbit.
he's got a giant turkey that he's had foot surgeries, and he takes them. They take like a wagon walk to go get burritos.
Burritos, yeah.
So we just really like following this guy because we can see ourselves in his
Yeah.
shoes someday. Maybe not all seniors because
That's
they're
also a little
really
heartbreaking.
old.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And then when he posts that one dies, like
Yeah.
we both tear
We
up
cry.
every time.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. I always
Yeah.
do.
Thank you so much for sharing your common goal with us.
Yeah.
Jessie and Michael, thanks for
Appreciate it.
being on the show.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Had a lot of fun.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. Aren't they just gems? Thank you so much, Jessie and Michael, for being on the show. We're so excited to share your story, and I know there are so many people who are feeling really inspired after hearing that, especially if they've been thinking about the dynamic of what it means to be in business with someone that you love or someone that is very close to you. I know that looks like a lot of different things for different people. So a lot to learn there from the experiences of really successful entrepreneurs. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. And you know what? It's not a doctor's office, but in Detail Therapy Land, in this office, there is a little copay. If this was valuable to you, maybe you know another couple in business together, or it's something that you think your community would find valuable, please share the show. That is how we continue to grow and lift each other up. And I would really appreciate it if you would do that. Don't forget to check out our sponsor. That's also going to be linked in the show notes, in addition to all of the details about our guests today. Ana Luisa is just an amazing brand that I'm so pleased to be partnering with. And I know they've got a little something special for your friends, your family, your significant other, if you are getting ready for, the holidays that are coming up. So check that out. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. I'll see you back here next time. Cheers.